Rosh Chodesh Sivan is when Bnei Yisrael arrived at Midbar Sinai, not Midbar Sinai, at Har Sinai. We camped around the mountain. Vayichan Sham Yisrael, Vayichan is singular. Rashi says Ki ish echad, belev echad. Very famous words that the Yidden camp for Achdus. Achdus, unity, is a prerequisite, it's a requirement for Matan Torah. If we want to have this beautiful, incredible connection with Hashem, which is actually what happened at Matan Torah, an incredible connection with Hashem, which we're going to talk about a bit today, to have that connection, to have that Hashem dwelling with us, to have the Shekhinah come down, to have Matan Torah, the prerequisite is Achdus Yisrael. When we are one, we are a keli, a complete vessel that can be makabel brachas, can makabel hashbos. When we have chas v'shalom and mum, or we throw aside another yid, or we don't accept another yid, then we are ruining our entire singular body, because all the yidden are one body, and we're no longer a shalom, we're no longer complete. Like we say in Davenin, Barcheinu Avinu Kulanu Ka'echad. Hashem benches us when we're all one. Okay? So, beautiful, beautiful day of Achdus, Rosh Chodesh Sivan. Likewise, all the beautiful days leading up to Matan Torah, the next 6 days, every single day is precious, every single day is special. And we have the Shlosh Mehagbala, we have the day that we said Na'asa v'Nishma, the day that we gave ourselves over to Hashem with Kabbalas HaTorah. We have our wanting to receive the Torah. We have the day that Hashem designated us as Mamlechas Kohanim, Goy Kadosh, a Heilige Ummah, a Heilige folk. It's a very, very, very special time, these 6 days. Today in the Shir, we are up to part 2 of Matan Torah. So a very quick review from last week, because today obviously builds on last week, it's all one message. Last week we spoke about how when we come to Matan Torah next Sunday evening, next Monday morning, when we come to Matan Torah, what are we celebrating? Not just that Hashem gave us his Torah, because Torah was learned before Matan Torah by the Avos, by Yishuv Hashem Va'ever. Mitzvahs were kept before Matan Torah. We're celebrating is the chiddush, the novelty in our connection to Hashem. And we use the words of the Medrash, which explain how Hashem previously decreed that Elyonim are Elyonim, what's spiritual is spiritual, Tachtonim is Tachtonim, what's physical and mundane is physical and mundane. And by Matan Torah, Hashem says, I'm going to merge the physical and spiritual. I'm going to connect Kedusha to this world. Hashem says, I will begin by Yerid Hashem on Har Sinai. Hashem comes down on Har Sinai, and he says, I'm going to connect to you. And now here are my mitzvahs. You please reciprocate and connect to me. Draw Kedusha down into the world. Elevate the world to Hashem. This is a very pivotal point in terms of Hashem's intention in creating the world and moving towards Geula HaSidah Be'ez Hashem. This is a pivotal point where the emergence began, where the connection of Hashem coming down into his world, being comfortable in the world, and us Bnei Yisrael being Hashem's emissaries or ambassadors to do this job began. And this year we actually 3,333 years since Matan Torah. Oh. So isn't that a special number? Yeah. 3333. 3,333 years since Matan Torah. I think that's quite interesting, especially that last week we discussed the concept of 3, that Hashem was a 3-part Torah to a 3-part nation on the 3rd day of the 3rd month through the 3rd person. Wow. And how 3 is the idea of Matan Torah, 1 is Hashem, 2 is the other, and 3 is the connection. This year with 3,333.
Wow. Really connected.
It's going to be an amazing Matan Torah this year, and all of us that are learning about it, and myself, I had to learn to prepare the shir as well. We're going to have an even more special Matan Torah, because once we know what's actually happening, we can appreciate it on a whole new level. So here we are. Today we are discussing 3 chidushim, 3 incredible, phenomenal changes that happened in the Torah itself at the time of Matan Torah. Torah existed before Matan Torah. Torah is the blueprint of the world. Torah is the wisdom of Hashem. Torah is Alpayim Shana Kodmo Torah L'Olam. Torah preceded the world by 2,000 years, whatever that means. There was no time then. But in concept, whatever that means, Torah preceded the world by 2,000 years. Torah is Chemda Genuza, Hashem's hidden treasure. What happened at Matan Torah? What change occurred in the Torah itself? 3 changes, and if you contemplate each change, if you let it sink in, each change that we're going to learn about today, each change is incredible and such a message for us. I put at the top of the page a quote from Shir Hashem. Kol ha-mitzvahs she'al t'su lefanecha aves reichos hayu, aval anu shemen turak shemecha. All the mitzvahs that the Avos did, or all the songs that the Avos sang, it says as well, and songs referred to the Torah they learned, were reichos, was smell. Everything that Avos did was like a smell, beautiful, pleasant aroma. But for us, what we do is like oil. We mentioned this pasuk from Shir Hashem and the Medrash on it last week to compare everything the Avos did. They learned Torah, they did mitzvahs, but it was transient. As opposed to us, when we learn Torah and do mitzvahs, we are connecting Kedusha into this world. That's what we discussed last week. Yeah. I put it at the top of the page because each of these 3 changes in Torah that we're going to discuss today can be hinted to in this Medrash. We're going to get back to it. Okay, the very first thing is that when Hashem gave us the Torah, He gave us Himself. When Hashem gave us the Torah, He gave us Himself. The Gemara Masechus Shavous says the word Anoichi Hashem Elokecha. Anoichi, Aleph, Nun, Chaf, Yud, acronym, Rosh Tevis, Ano, Nafshi, Ksavis, Yehavis. I, Hashem says, have written myself into the Torah. Or as we know, that although the Torah can be read on a nafshi, ksavis Yehavis. I've written myself into the Torah. As we know, the Torah it has a storyline, the Torah has haluchas, the Torah has pshat. The Torah also is shemoisav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Torah is entirely names of Hashem rearranged. And I don't know how to read it as names of Hashem. I only know how to read the pshat, but someone who's a makubal or somebody who can read deeper into the Torah will be able to show you how the entire Torah is shemoisav shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, names of Hashem. That's why in a Sefer Torah there's no nakudos, no commas, no grammar, no full stops, nothing. Why? So that you can read it this way or that way. And yes, you can read the entire Torah as Shemois Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem invested Himself into the Torah. This is a chiddush of Matan Torah. In the way the Medrash puts it, Hashem says to Am Yisrael, "Macharti lehem Torasi." I've sold you my Torah. I've given you my Torah. Transferred ownership of the Torah. Kavyachal, what's kavyachal? Kavyachal, so to speak. Yeah, keilu. Yeah, kavyachal nimcharti ima. It's as though I sold myself with it. By giving you my Torah, I've given you myself. Or as the Zohar puts it, Hashem is one with His Torah. If Hashem has given us His Torah, He's giving us Himself. Or in the words of the Rambam, Hu Chachmasi Echad. The Rambam explains how we human beings, so we are a body, we have a brain. Our brain has the ability to think, to understand, to comprehend. We come to a shir, we read a book, whatever it is. We add wisdom to our brains, okay? So we have our brain, which is the knower, and then we have the knowledge, separate to us. And knowledge is added to our knowing capacity, correct? You can have the capacity to know stuff without actually knowing anything, okay? Yeah. Or you can have the wisdom as it is in the book or in the class without actually letting it sink into your head. But Hashem, Hashem is the knowledge, the knower, and the known. He is all one. If Hashem knows something, does that add to Him? No. If the Torah is Hashem's wisdom, is there Hashem and then His wisdom? Or is Hashem one with His wisdom? So if the Torah is Hashem's wisdom, the Torah is Hashem Himself. Hashem chose to give us Himself in the Torah. Now before Matan Torah, this was not expressed. Torah was kind of like an expression of Hashem. And by Matan Torah, Hashem said, Torah is no longer just an expression of me. Torah is me. Torah is where I am investing myself. You know Sim Shalom, Sim Shalom Torah Bracha Chaim Chaim Chesed in Shemon Esrei, Ki ba'or panecha nasata lanu Hashem Elokeinu. It's a typo in the worksheet. I missed out the words Hashem Elokeinu. Ki ba'or panecha Nasata lanu Hashem Elokeinu. With his grace, with his countenance, he gave us, well, the pshat is Hashem gave us Torah Chaim, Avos Shalom, yeah? But if you reread it, it's not just that he gave us the Torah, Nasata lanu Hashem Elokeinu. He gave us himself. Through Torah Chaim, by giving us the Torah, he gave us himself. It's a new way of reading it.
Nice.
Okay, so let's go back to the medrash of the oil and the smell. The mitzvahs that the Avos did is like smell. Beautiful smell, fragrant smell. And the mitzvahs that we do is like the oil itself. We're talking about fragrant smelling oil, which gives us a beautiful smell. Okay? In this concept of Hashem investing himself into the Torah, with the Avos, there's Hashem. And the Torah is the smell that gives off. There's the oil. The Avos had the smell which that oil gave off. We have the oil itself. Hashem himself. Okay? There's a mashal of midgets on giants' shoulders. You know the mashal?
Yeah.
Yes, you do. Avram Fried's song.
I
When
don't know.
I was young, I heard a tale. You know the song? Who knows the song?
Carry on.
I don't sing. Of a giant standing tall and a son oh so small. They shared a dream to see the king. What's the idea? Is that it's a marshal for bringing Mashiach. Yeah? We know that we are Ikvasid of Mashiach. It's already been a number of years that we're Ikvasid of Mashiach since hundreds of years ago, but okay? We are the last generations, okay? We know it. And what schus do we have? I mean, come on, look at the generation today. We're going to bring Mashiach? Come on. What schus do we have? We're so small. We're so incapable, yeah? Compared to the previous Doros. Before the war, it says, as someone was telling me, before the war, every certain amount of miles, the Baal Ruach HaKodesh, you know, tzaddikim galore. And now it's like, we live and we try to get messages and we try to find meaning, and we feel so stuck now, right? How can you compare us to our Zedas, to our Babas, to, yeah? The previous generations, they were giants. What are we? Tiny little midgets. But no, in our generation, we're going to be Zoich to see Mashiach. What does that mean? How can that be? They weren't Zoich and we're going to be Zoich. They're giants. And we are the midgets standing on their shoulders. The wall is this tall. They went till here. And we are that tiny little midget just peeking over the wall. You know? So it's not because we have schus. The Moshe Rabbeinu brought down the Torah not because he was better than Avram Avinu, but because Avram paved the way, Yitzchak, Yaakov, 7 generations, and the idea of the 7th being the one who's Zoich to bring down Kol Shavin Chavivin. It's a process. It's a culminative process. Okay?
Yes.
So it's not because they weren't good, they were amazing. They were a makava. We have a neshama because of Avram Avinu. We have a neshama as a Yerusha from Avram Avinu. The fact that he is Ma'aminim B'nei Ma'aminim is because of Avram Avinu. Because of his mysterious nefesh, because of his Akedah. We still recall Zechus Avis. Rosh Hashanah B'lo Shofar is Zechus Avis. But we have something they didn't have. And not because we deserve it, not because we're so special. Just because Hashem chose us. Okay? Is that okay? Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. This idea of Hashem giving us himself. Before Matan Torah, Torah was an expression of Hashem. And now Hashem's investing himself into the Torah. There's a cute little story. The Baal Tanya had a grandchild whose name became Tzemach Tzedek. His name was Menachem Mendel. This was a child of Tevera Leah, who gave her life, Mesiras Nefesh. Incredible story, separately. So this grandchild grew up with the Baal Tanya in his home, in his room actually, and he was mechanech him very carefully. So one day this grandchild is sitting in the Baal Tanya's lap, and the Baal Tanya says to him, "Wo is Zayda?" And he yanks the beard and says, "This is Zayda." "No, that's Zayda's bard." "So where's Zayda?" So he pulls his nose. "No, that's Zayda's nose. Where's Zayda?" So he takes his hand. "No, that's Zayda's hand. Where's Zayda?" The child gets fed up and he goes off to play. A few minutes later he's playing, distracted. And he goes where he can't be seen, behind the door. "Zayda!" And the Baal Tanya, "Yeah? Oh, die Zayda." What's the message? There's parts, there's the expression of, there's the beard of, the hand of, and then there's you. And who's you? Well, you can't define it, but it's your essence. It's who you are. I must have told you before, my sister got annoyed at me. The very you of you. What does she mean to say by the very you of you?
The essence.
Not any part of you. Not
But
the bit that
you.
annoyed me. You! Okay? When we talk to Hashem in a bracha, we say, Baruch Ata. Benched are you. And then we say, Hashem, Elokeinu, Melech Haolam. Hello, we just had 3 names of Hashem. Yud Kei Vav Kei is the chesed of Hashem that gives to the world. Elokeinu is the Gevurah of Hashem, the Midas Hadin, which conceals godly light. Melech Haolam is how Hashem is running the individual details of this world. One second. If we just said benched is the chesed of Hashem, the Gevurah of Hashem, the Malchus of Hashem, why do we need Ata, you? Because it's very nice, all the expressions of Hashem, but Baruch Ata. Benched are you, which you? The very you of you. Okay? That's the you, that's the Eibusha that's in the Torah, the Anoichi, the I. Okay? Anoichi, this essence, is Hashem Elokecha. This essence of Hashem is what's being expressed to you, is what's in the Hesteponim. Too complicated? Too deep?
No, it's amazing.
Like faces?
Makes me want to learn bruchas now.
Okay. so Hashem in his very essence, the Anoichi, the essence of Hashem, is invested into the Torah. That's the very first chiddush of Matan Torah, is that Hashem gave us himself. Ki ba'ar panecha nasata lanu Hashem Elokeinu. The way we discussed it in Perek Dalet and of Tanya, learning Torah is like embracing Hashem and being embraced by Hashem. If Hashem is one with his Torah, when you are grappling with a concept, it works very well in English as well. When you are grappling with a concept, your mind is wrapped in the concept. Get the imagery? Yes. The concept is embracing your mind. Your mind is wrapped within the concept. When you finally get it and you chap the concept and you've grasped it and you have it, your mind is now embracing that concept. So while you were studying, you were being embraced by it. Now that you got it, you're embracing it. If the concept is Kedusha, if the concept is Torah Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if the concept is Hu Chachmasi Echad, Hashem's Torah, which is Hashem, essence, then you are hugging Hashem and getting hugged by Hashem when you learn Torah. And I don't mean men, I mean us women who say Tehillim, who daven, who sit around the table and listen to a shir, who call a hotline, whatever it is, okay? We are connecting to Hashem in an incredible way. Hashem gave us himself. This resonates with the concept that Matan Torah is in Shir Hashirim, we say, Shir Hashirim Mashal Shlema, yeah? We say, B'yoyim Chasun Nosoi, on the day of his Chasanah. Medrash says, B'yoyim Chasun Nosoi Zu Matan Torah. Hashem's Chasanah with the Yidden is Matan Torah. Hashem gave us himself. One woman in the share this morning, she says, I'm very beautiful, and I hope you get it. She said, wow, Hashem's being very vulnerable. She's right.
He's making himself mafkir.
Hashem is being very vulnerable. Because by giving us his Torah, and not just his Torah, but investing himself into the Torah, giving us himself, and now what are we going to do with it? Are we going to honor that Torah? Are we going to cherish that Torah? Are we going to learn that Torah? Or are we going to give a cold shoulder?
He's trusting us.
Like Hashem makes the first move, he comes down. And are we going to say, you know? Or are we going to say, wow, and connect? It is very vulnerable. Okay? I like the way she put it, so I had to repeat it. Yeah. Okay. That's the first incredible thing about Matan Torah. So I guess, when we come to Shavous this year, and when we're celebrating Shavous, and we go to shul, we hear Aseret HaDibros. It's a very, very important chashuv thing to go to shul to hear the Aseret HaDibros. If you want to bring your kids, they're doing a 11:30 Kriya outdoors in the garden with the toys and with the ice cream. for the kids. So when we come to Shavous and we celebrate the Matan Torah, the very first thing is, this is Yom Chasun Nosoi, our Chasna with Hashem. This is Hashem giving himself in his Torah. He didn't just give us a Torah which is expression of him. He gave us himself. Honor nafshi kasavas yahavis nasata lanu Hashem Elokeinu. Okay? Second amazing thing, and I'm almost certain you would have learned this in school, the idea of Torah loy bashamayim hi, that Torah is not in heaven. The Chiddush of Matan Torah was until Matan Torah, the Psak Din was with Hashem. The decision was with Beis Din Shel Maila. Kosher, not kosher, tahar, not tahar, mutar, asur. All the decision was decided up there. With Matan Torah, Hashem gave us his Torah. He gave the Psak down to earth. Torah lo bashamayim, Torah is no longer in heaven. There's a beautiful Gemara which explains this so amazingly. And I printed off myself just a copy of the wording so I get all the details correct for you. It happened where they were discussing the kashrus of an oven. Now, you see, a clay cheres, a earthenware vessel, or anything made from earthenware, can become tamei if it becomes tamei if a sheret, a non-kosher creature, is in it or whatever. Okay. Now it's quite inconvenient. I mean, if you are a commercial baker, or even if you have your own kitchen, to have your oven become tamei and have to break your oven, you can't tovel or kasher an oven that becomes tamei like that. It's pretty inconvenient. So, smart Jews, as Jews are, came up with smart ideas on how to make sure their oven will never become tamei. Now, a broken oven, a broken earthenware keli, something which is not a keli, doesn't become tamei. It can only be makabel tuma if it's a keli. Yeah, if it's not a keli, it's not makabel tuma. So one smart aleck Jew came up with a good idea. He said, "Here's my oven. What I'm going to do with my oven is I'm going to build it like this, my oven. Okay. Then I'm going to break my oven so it won't be a keli. And if I break my oven, it will never become a tuma." So he broke his oven into very neat slices. Okay? Sliced up his oven very neatly. Neat slices. But he wants to use his oven to bake. So he filled it with sand between all the cracks. And now he had a perfectly complete broken oven. And he said, ta-da! It'll never be become a tuma. It's broken. So the Chacham said to him, nice try. It's still an oven. But Rabbi Eliezer, who was the wisest of all the Chacham in his day, said, Taka, good job. Your oven will never become a tuma. So Rabbi Eliezer says, tahar. Chachamim say, tamei. Argument, machlokes, Jewish, right? So what happens is Rabbi Eliezer comes to Beis Medrash, and he brings all the proofs that this oven is tahar. The Chachamim say, no, it's tamei. We are paskening it's tamei. We do not want Jews making these kunzim. Rabbi Eliezer says, if the halacha is like me, that the carob tree outside prove it. The carob tree gets up and jumps 100 amas, some say 200 amas. The Chacham say, I'm sorry, but the halacha is not with carob trees, the halacha is in the Beis Medrash, and we said it's tamei, it's tamei. He said, well, if the halacha is like me, that the stream outside prove it. And the stream, instead of flowing downstream, started flowing upstream. And the Chacham said, I'm sorry, the halacha is not with the water, halacha is in the Beis Medrash. He finds that the walls of the Beis Medrash prove it. And the walls started caving in. And Rabbi Yeshua turns to the walls and says, what right do you have to mix into the machlokes of Rabbanim? And the walls caved in respect for Rabbi Eliezer, and paused midway in respect for Rabbi Yeshua. Ad Hayom, the Gemara says that the walls are halfway, in case you want to go find those walls. And you're touring a very stroll. And then Rabbi Eliezer gets frustrated. And he is insisting that tahar is tahar. And he says, Hashem is on my side. I know the emes of the Torah. Hashem is on my side. And a baskol comes out, and the baskol says, Malachem etzel Rabbi Eliezer. What are you fighting with Rabbi Eliezer for? Shehalacha k'mosi b'chol makom. The halacha is like him in every single place. And Rabbi Yeshua stands up and says, Torah loy bashamayim hi. Thank you very much to baskols giving psak, but we have more power than baskols because Torah is no longer in heaven. God gave his Torah down to earth. Yes. God gave his Torah down to earth. Lev Shemayim. He said, the Torah, which Hashem gave down to earth, says, Achrei Rabbim Lahatos. We follow the majority of Rabbanim. And we, the majority, say it's coming. Please put your baskets aside. No. Rabbi Nosson is traveling, and he meets Eliyahu Hanavi. I mean, I guess, am I right? I meant Eliyahu Hanavi. And he says to Eliyahu Hanavi, tell me, what was Hashem doing at the time when we had our amazing machlokes and Beis Medrash? And Eliyahu Hanavi said, Hashem was laughing. And Hashem said, Nitzchuni, Banai Nitzchuni. My children have won over me, my children have won over me. And he was fantastic. Okay, it's a phenomenal Gemara. I'm sure you heard this Gemara in school. It's about establishing the power of based in Shalvata of Torah. It's about saying, it's not about what's technically right in Shemayim, it's about what we decide down here becomes halacha. But they were correct. And what's the strength of the message is that once Hashem gave us his Torah, it belongs down here, it belongs to us. I mentioned Rosh Chodesh, yeah? There was such a thing where if the Chachamim didn't want Rosh Chodesh to be on a certain day because it would ruin things for the calendar, when two witnesses came and said they saw Model and Havana, that became Rosh Chodesh. If the Beis Din didn't want Rosh Chodesh to be on that day, they would close Beis Din and not take witnesses.
Wow, they just...
Torah Lev Shemayim. We can decide. That's going to determine what the Yom Tov is. Hashem will make Yom Tov when we make Yom Tov. This is the second Chiddush of Matan Torah. That Hashem gave over the Torah to us, literally. Okay? Now maybe if you teach this, you can help me with the second story, because I did not print off the second story, but I'm sure you know it, because it's in the same sugya. Where they're arguing over the day of Yom Kippur. Right. Who was that? So Rabbi Yeshua determines his day of Yom Kippur as a different day to the Chachamim. And the Chachamim insist that he comes with his stick and his money bag in public, carrying muktzah stuff in public, right? On his day of Yom Kippur. Why? Why make a man break his understanding of Yom Kippur? Because they're saying, Torah Lev Shemayim, if we've determined that Yom Kippur is the next day, you are not going to keep your understanding. Because your understanding of Yom Kippur, even if you're smarter, more correct, you understand better the cheshbonos, it's irrelevant. Yom Kippur is not determined when it's technically Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is determined when the Beis Din down here determines it to be Yom Kippur. And when the Beis Din down here determines it to be Yom Kippur, then the whole din happens in Shemayim and all the, you know what happens in Shemayim and Yom Kippur, you hear the stories, right? All of that happens on the day that Beis Din down here determines Yom Kippur. And later on it was proven that his understanding was correct and the Chachamim's understanding were not. And they didn't mind. So what? We did it the way we understood, and this is the way it's supposed to be. Have I said it correctly? If we go back to the idea of the oil and the smell, yeah? Everything that Avos did was reichos, aval anu shem and turach shmecha. This is the idea that smell, if I have a very nice smelling cup of oil, yeah? I'll walk into the room, and you'll all be able to smell that waft of the oil, okay? The oil's here. The smell has reached you. Before Matan Torah, the Torah itself was in Himmel. The smell reached earth. And the smell was amazing. The Avos were incredible. However, post Matan Torah, it's pouring. Torah means to pour. The oil was poured milmaila lamata. The oil itself, not just the smell of it, came down here. We now have the actual thing itself. Okay? You have, just to illustrate a little bit further, the idea of the Torah being down here on earth. There's examples brought often in Chassidus to illustrate many things. you have a Chassid, an Elter Chassid, a Baal Mesiras Nefesh, somebody who's given everything up for chinuch and whatever, and he lands himself in Siberia, in prison, in whatever, yeah, and it's Pesach and he cannot eat matzah. There is no matzah to be found. So this tzaddik, this amazing, incredible chassid who's given his life for the Mesiras Nefesh, everything, he cannot eat matzah on Pesach. And he sits there on Pesach in his tsar that he can't eat matzah, and he meditates, he knows all the deep Kabbalah behind matzah. Will he get schar? Avada, plenty of schar. Did he do the mitzvah? No. Did he have that kesher with Hashem? Was he connecting Eliyahu and Tachtonim? No, unfortunately not. He'll get plenty of schar. He'll get the most incredible schar. Better than any schar any of us will get for eating matzah. Don't worry. But he didn't have that mitzvah. He didn't have the tzafsa, the chibur, the connection of the mitzvah. Then you have the child sitting at the Seder in 2021 in Tashim Pei Aleph, who is OTD and not interested, and disinterested teen sitting at the table like this, convince me, okay? And comes Mighty Matzah, and you hand out the Kazayas Matzah, and he doesn't want to have it. Don't want to eat cardboard. And you convince him, he has to swallow down a Kazayas Matzah, and with a lot of force and convincing, this teenager swallows down his Kazayas Matzah. Yeah? Kazayas according to the most lenient opinion. This teenager, was he Mekayim Mitzvah Matzah? Yes. Did he connect to the Eibishter? Yes. Did he draw incredible Kedushim into the world? Yes. Did he elevate the world? Yes. Hello? Why? This chassid who's trying so hard, who's so spiritual, who knows all the Kabbalah behind Matzah, wishes he could do it. He'll get schar, but he hasn't been Mekayim Mitzvah, he didn't make that connection. And this teenager who's disinterested, who did it by force, and he gets the connection? Torah Lebashmayim. Torah is all about the practical, down here, the mitzvahs that Hashem gave us to do 613, whether we understand it or not. I think it's a very powerful story for our generation, where so many of us, we're such a, why we're so special, our generation? Because we don't understand, we don't feel, we don't get it, and we still do it anyway. How many mitzvahs do we actually get what we're doing? We still do it. How? Because Hashem said so. Because Hashem said so. Do we have Ahavas Hashem? Do we have Yiras Hashem? Nish mamish. We do it because Hashem said so. Right? Because deep down we love Hashem. Because deep down we're committed people. We do it out of commitment. And that's so beautiful. Because yes, we want all the feeling. And yes, we do want the understanding. And yes, we should come and learn. We should work on ourselves. Our Hashem is incredibly important. But Torah Levishmayim. The fact that we get it done, the fact that we're committed to our connection with Hashem, and we do things despite all odds, that's the second chiddush of Matan Torah. The power of the Pesach is down here. Hashem gave us the Torah. Moving on. The third chiddush of Matan Torah is that when Hashem gave us the Torah, Hashem wasn't giving us instruction, Hashem was giving us instruction. Yes, but Hashem reprogrammed us as people. Torah miloshen hoira'ah. Hoira'ah means instruction, but by that I don't mean command, I mean reprogramming. Torah changed our nature. Every mitzvah that Hashem said, Loi signov, do not kidnap. It was a command, you shall not kidnap, but it was also a fact, you will not kidnap. Torah changed, but when Hashem gave us the Torah, Hashem reprogrammed the nature of us Yidden, that we naturally will act in line with Torah. The nature of a Yid, our physical, spiritual makeup inside of us is in line with Torah. Yes, we have a Yetzer Hara. Yes, we sometimes convince ourselves to do ridiculous things that are against Torah, but it's illogical. It doesn't make sense. Just like we human beings we each have our nature, okay? I'll give an example. A human being loves their children. We do. We all love our children. A human being will do anything for their child. Okay? Yet, things get in the way, and we sometimes end up behaving in ridiculous ways towards our children, which later on we're embarrassed about it, and we feel bad, and we eat ourselves up with guilt. Right? Okay? But by nature, a human being loves their children. By nature, a human being will give everything for their children. Do we mess up? Yes, we do, because we have other issues, fine. But naturally, this is the way we are. Kind of like, a person knows that certain foods are toxic for them. Okay? You know not to eat dangerous things. You know not to eat toxic things. Yet sometimes we have a ridiculous thing in our head which convinces us to go for those toxins. Okay? But by nature, we're not drawn to it. Okay? By nature, a Yid follows Torah mitzvahs. Ein adam over avera, ella imke nichnas by ruach shtus. A person does not sin unless he has this shtus in his head. What's this shtus? The shtus is the thing which convinces you that even if you do this avera, you're not really disconnecting from Shavous and nishma and avera. Until you do the avera, and then it comes and makes you feel guilty for it. Yeah, kacha. But Torah reprogrammed a Yid that our nature is Torah. We had a child here in the nursery, and Babich nursery, my mother-in-law runs the nursery, who wasn't from a Heimish mishpacha, from mishpacha, whatever. They take all types of children there. Beautiful atmosphere. And this child was being very wild, very difficult, very impossible. And the teachers didn't know what to do with this child. The parent, the mother, didn't know what to do with her son. So my mother-in-law took the woman into the office and explained to her and said to her, your child is allergic to movies. You put your child in front of the screen, your child's neshama can't handle it. This acting out of line, this being wild, this being impossible child is a allergic reaction to the input you're giving him. Believe it or not, my mother actually listened and started limiting screen time. Incredible, right?
Wow.
But why? Because Matan Torah, when Hashem gave us the Torah milashon hora, Torah changed us and programmed us that we are naturally aligned with Torah. And when we're not aligned with Torah, we are being unnatural and destructive to ourselves. Someone said this morning in the shir, if we don't follow Torah, we're the biggest losers. Yeah, if we don't follow Torah, we're the biggest losers. Going back to the Hashem being vulnerable, don't know, a different woman said this, but going back to the idea of Hashem being vulnerable, Torah being the chasana between Hashem and Yidden, if a person if a person gives a cold shoulder and says, oh, you want to connect, but I don't really want to connect, who's losing out? You lose out yourself, okay? Sure. It's not smart to you're only ruining yourself by doing that. And yeah, if we don't follow Torah, it's unnatural to us. It's not healthy for us. Chochma b'goyim ta'amin. Goyim have lots of chochma. I mean, the universities are packed out, the books out there, the self-help, the guidance, the courses, name them, they're all in Stanford Hill now as well. You can learn anything you want, okay? Chochma b'goyim, plenty of it. Torah b'goyim al ta'amin. Don't believe this. But in Chachma b'goyim, believe it. Torah b'goyim, don't believe it. What's the difference between Chachma and Torah? Torah means a wisdom that changes you as a person. Example, we mentioned this in the shir maybe yesterday, we'll mention it again. Aristotle, philosopher. Aristotle, the philosopher, taught ethics and morals and proper human behavior. He preached and he taught. And then, one day a student of Aristotle had a burning question inside of him that he had to ask Aristotle now. And it was evening. So the student ran over to Aristotle's residence, burst into his home, and about to pour out his question, he stops in his tracks because he sees his teacher, his moral model, philosopher, sitting there eating meat of a live animal, Eva Menachai. And he's disgusted and he's repulsed. My teacher who teaches me morals and ethics, my teacher who tells me how to behave and how to be kind and gracious, and is behaving in such an immoral, incorrect, unethical way. And he said, Aristotle, what is this? And Aristotle said, without missing a beat, well, there's Aristotle the philosopher, and there's Aristotle the private human being. What's the problem? Chochma b'goyim ta'amin. Chochma b'goyim, plenty of it. Is it machayev? Does it change the person? Yeah. No. But Torah is only by a Yid. Because Torah, Hashem giving us His Torah, He's not giving us a chachma. He's not giving us a list of halachas that you have to break yourself to follow. He's not giving us a list of morals that you have to crush yourself to do. Hashem's telling you, this is the new you. This is you. Keep it. It might be hard to push away the Sahara. Keep it because this is your nature. It's who you are. That is the Torah that Hashem gave us. Asher bachar banu mikala amin v'nasan lana hastei rasei. By giving us the Torah, Hashem was bachar banu. Hashem made us mamlechas koydim, goy kadosh. Hashem uplifted us. As we said last year, Asher kiddishanu b'mitzvaysav. He made us holy. No, kiddushin. He set us aside with His mitzvahs. He made us halik by giving us His mitzvahs. He made us His. He became ours, and we became His. This idea, the first one, Hashem put Himself into the Torah, is Hashem becoming ours. This idea of Torah changing our nature is about us becoming His. Let's go back to the oil, yeah? So, smell, before Matan Torah, you make a bracha on mine besamim. Yeah, on a beautiful smell, you make a bracha. Isve besamim, mine besamim, I don't know all the different brachas for it. Because it's hanoah, it's nice. But do you make a bracha achreina on besamim? Why not?
Never ends.
Because it doesn't satisfy you, it doesn't become part of you. Oil, I know, becomes part of you. I can tell you about that, okay? Oil becomes part of you. Smell doesn't. Before Matan Torah, it was like a smell. The mitzvahs were beautiful. They were instructive. You chose to do a mitzvah. You chose to be spiritual at the time. The Avos chose to do mitzvahs. The Shvatim Lav Dafka did all the mitzvahs. There's a whole figure there. But post Matan Torah, it changes us. It becomes part of us. This Torah is who we are. Hence, finishing off the shir, by Matan Torah, there was thunder and lightning, and the mountain got covered in smoke. And the Yidden stood there, and Hashem spoke, and parcha nishmasam. The neshamas escaped them, and Hashem had to revive them. Why parcha nishmasam? Why did we have to all pass out on Matan Torah twice? What's going on here? Because if you want to go to a new reality, if you want to go from Hashem's wisdom to Hashem Himself, if you want to go from Torah in heaven to Torah belonging to us on earth, if you want to go from Torah being instructive and by choice to Torah changing us, you need to go to zero in order to grow. Kind of like you want to grow a tree. You take a seed. You put a seed in the ground. Does a seed grow a tree? No, a seed does not grow a tree. A seed disintegrates. A seed becomes nothing. And from nothing, a tree grows. Or, who was it that wanted to learn the Talmud Yerushalmi? Yerushalmi is on a higher level than Bavli. He fasted to make himself forget Talmud Bavli in order to be able to understand Talmud Yerushalmi. You cannot learn Talmud Yerushalmi with a preconceived understanding. Like if you go to a course or a lecture or one of these fancy whatevers that they'll tell you, come with a blank mind. Don't bring me, but I learned, but I heard, but someone else told me. This is a new method. This is a new technique. Blank out everything else you learned. You want to grow, you want to makabel something, you have to come blank. Matan Torah changed us. We came to a whole new level. It was a complete connection with Hashem. In order to achieve that, we had to become nothing first, which is why parcha nishmasam. Just general brackets, yeah? Brackets. In life in general, sometimes we feel that we get to points of nothingness, and it's really painful times in life where we really get to these low points in whatever aspect of our life where we really feel like we've hit like, why did Hashem put me in this nothing space? I thought I was this and I thought I was that, and why am I nothing? And whichever aspect of life it is, sometimes growth comes after those nothing spaces. Because Hashem wants to bring us to a new space. We need to have sometimes, I don't wish it upon anybody and we should all have wonderful lives, but sometimes the growth comes after the nothing. Because we cannot change, we cannot become something new without the nothing. Hence, parcha nishmasam. Anyways, Matan Torah is an incredible chiddush. And it is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful gift. Anyway, Mazel's coming on your anniversary next week. And we should have a Kabbalas HaTorah v'simcha of a Pnimiyas. We should be able to receive the Torah with joy, joyous at this beautiful gift that Hashem gave us, and be able to internalize it, the Pnimiyas, that it becomes one with us.